Hop in after me, but I'm excited to share with you all this. So, who here likes superheroes? I know I do. You might be able to see the shield behind me. Who is your favorite superhero out there? Is it Captain America like me? Maybe Superman. But we all can be podcast heroes. All right. So it's a little cheesy. I know. I get it from my dad, but that's all right. We can all be podcast heroes. We all have a story to tell. We all have a positive mark to leave on the world. And change Batman, dead Iron Man. I know he needs to come back, right? But being a podcast hero, it's all about the journey, right? And our journeys have different parts to them. So I wanted to share with you just ways that we can become that podcast hero, grow our show, and the path to monetization. And again, make sure if you have any questions for us all, just go ahead and put in the Q&A there section as we go. But like heroes, we all have to go on a journey, right? When you're starting out at podcasting, you're kind of like a superhero, just finding out they have powers. Not really sure how to use them, not really the best using those powers. They're trying to, get their footing with it and understand what they can use or what they can accomplish with these powers. And as podcasters, we have a platform that we can reach people worldwide. But how are we going to go about doing that? How are we going to use this platform to grow our audience, to share that message, to leave that positive mark and create revenue, bring in money from our show? And to start with that, we need to remember to activate our most important superpower. And it's not our mic. It's not our computer. It's not our webcam. It's not even the shield or the decor behind us. Our greatest superpower is ourselves, our mindset, the mindset that we approach our show with and our audience with. And at the beginning of everything, we have to understand why. Dig deep. Why are we doing this? Why are we wanting to grow our audience? Why are we wanting to monetize? And a lot of people ask this question and they, well, I just want to make more money, to travel, or I want to just share my message and help more people. But that's too surface level. We've got to really dig into, our character, our hero's story. And we do this by asking ourselves why multiple times to get to that underlying reason. What's that emotional reason that's going to move you even when things get hard? When those obstacles are your way, are you going to step on them and take that step up, or are you going to let them stop you and slow you down? When you have that deep-rooted why, if you understand that, your superpower, you're going to be able to accomplish a lot more and get through those tough times along your journey. Because it's not easy. If it was easy, everyone would be Joe Rogan right now, right? It doesn't have to be hard though, but it will take hard work. So we got to remember, it's not going to be easy, but we don't have to overcomplicate it. So just remember your why at the end of the day, why you're on this podcast hero journey. And then we got to start attracting those fans, right? We have an idea. We've built out our ideal listener avatar. We understand who our ideal listener is, or maybe we're in the process of figuring out who those fans are. Now we got to start attracting them to our show and what we're putting out there. And there's a lot of ways to get in front of people, and we've discussed them already. We've had a lot of good conversations about this and just growing. But some big ones that you can do organically for free: interviewing, bringing people onto your show that add value to your audience, and then collaborating with those individuals. Whether it be you do a live on Instagram or Facebook later with them to highlight your show and get people excited about it. Or maybe you just create content together on social media and both audiences get to see both people tagged in that post. But interviewing them, when they share that with their audience that they've already built and it ties into yours, you're getting in front of a whole bunch of people at once without having to pay anything. And then being a guest is the same way. Look to be a guest on other shows that align with the audience that you want, because when we do that, then again, we're just kind of bypassing some of the time by getting in front of more people at once. If they've already built an audience, just kind of piggyback on that, work together. And maybe it's a, hey, I'll be on your show if you be on my show, or vice versa, where you work together and collaborate. But even then, when you're collaborating, when you're guesting, you've got to bring value. You've got to, connect with the audience. You got to resonate with them. And you're not going to with everyone, and that's okay. But you're going to eventually start bringing on more and more as you do this. But we've got to attract those fans. And then we've got to create content. And content creation, like we've discussed previously with these presentations, is more than just, hey, new episode out. Hey, here's a still image of the logo with episode 100 or whatever episode you're on. It's more than that. Content creation shows value. Okay, it builds connection. It generates more listenership because it provides more value, and increases your reach. Because if you're working with the algorithm of the platform you're on, you're going to be able to get in front of more people organically, and the visibility is going to come with that. Again, social media is free and easy right now. It's becoming a little bit more pay to play, but you can still grow organically if you use them correctly. And then those pieces of content you put on those platforms are evergreen. They stay there. Okay. So people can go back and look through, just like they can go back and look through your episodes. They can go back and look through your content and get value from it. And with that, things to remember, your content should be relatable. And again, that's why we need to know our ideal listener. Okay. If you don't know who you're speaking to, you're going to be speaking to nobody. You're going to be throwing mud against the wall, hoping it sticks, right? But if you know who you're talking to, you can direct those conversations, those pieces of content directly to them. It's going to be more valuable because you're going to know what to post and how to post it. It's going to be more engaging. You're going to know questions to ask or things to say that get people to engage and respond. And you're going to be yourself. It's going to be unique. Okay? So that's why they come to your show, because they like you as the host. They like the content you're putting out, and only you can do you. No one else can be you, and no one else can do it like you. So being unique and personal, kind of like Dave said earlier, like share a little bit about maybe backstory or behind the scenes or something of that nature that just connects you as a person. You're more than just a host, on this pedestal. You're more than this podcast hero. You have human traits that make you relatable. Thor, the love he had for his parents, made him relatable. The pain he had when he lost his parents, it's relatable to people. So sharing things like that, Captain America's man at a time, people feel lost sometimes. And so they can connect with that character. So you want to build those connections. Conversational, again, ask questions, get to know, be curious, and start those conversations. Powerful. This is where we want to tie into the emotions. When you, like Dave said, if you can make someone cry or if you can make someone laugh while you're talking to them, while you're posting, while you're teaching, it's powerful. Emotions move people. And then concise. Sometimes we get too much fluff. We get too much extra things going on instead of just getting right to the point so our audience can get the value. So trying to be concise. And you might wonder what you can post. I don't know what to post on these platforms. Here's just 18 right here. So if you can screenshot this, screenshot it, jot this down. But some of these you can post, this is what I did, or this is what I learned. So maybe you share a little personal story. Hey, I learned this when I started podcasting, or I learned this when I started my business, and tell them that story. Maybe you share what if, hey, what if you would take this chance and start a podcast? What would that do for you? What if you, took control of your health? What would that do for you? And get people talking. Checklist, super simple. So if you have an episode and someone gives you like the top 5 ways to grow your podcast, you could make that a post. Instagram, you can use the carousel where you post different pages. So these are 18. Again, take a screenshot of this and have these ideas to create content when you might run out of ideas. And then we've hit on it before already today, building connections, building relationships. And to do that, again, it goes back to knowing your ideal listener. And when you do that, when you know that ideal listener, you know who you're aiming at. You know what you're aiming for. You're able to see that target. And when you can see the target, you don't have to worry about everything else. And you're able to fire. You're able to take action because you have more direction with what you need to do. Fire now, aim later. And you write better done than not done. So at least you can get it out there, and then you can tweak. By how? Getting feedback from your audience, having conversations. And we just get better as we go. Like Dave mentioned, you might record 5 at the beginning and then get rid of them because you learn a lot through those, and practice makes perfect. I know I've learned a lot on my journey. And so we just have to keep doing it and putting ourselves out there and connecting. And it's going to make a difference. And you're going to build the connections that you want with your audience. And you can also grow outside of social media. So if you have a website, things to think about is that it helps you become more discoverable using SEO, search engine optimization. And on top of that, you just own more of the content. You can have blog posts. You can have the embedded files, audio files. You can have pictures. All of that content ownership is valuable. You can repurpose that, like Dave mentioned previously, and sell it. And there's also a funnel. Once you get them into your audience listening, you can funnel them to where you want them to go. So maybe you have a program, maybe you have a membership, maybe you have affiliates. You get to direct them through that by growing outside of social media. But we've always got to remember the journey of our audience, because as podcast heroes, we're on a journey, but so are our listeners. And we've got to think about that. We've got to think about who they are, what they're looking for. What are they seeking? Are they seeking just a good time to, unwind and get a bunch of humor, laughter? Are they seeking to learn something? Are they seeking to, just hear what's going on in the world? So you got to understand what they're seeking, what their goals are for listening, and the emotions that tie into it. Maybe they, are down on themselves. They don't have confidence. And so they're coming to your podcast to get that inspiration, that motivation. So that's the emotions behind it. And then where along their journey are the touch points? So your social media profile, that's a big touch point. Your podcast episode, that's a big touch point. Okay. In the process, if you have a community and a group, that's a big touch point. So all these moments, we have moment of truth. Are they going to continue to be in our audience? Are they continue to follow us and grow? Or are they going to be like, hey, this is not for me? And that's okay too. We don't want everyone. We want the right ones. And so as you're doing that, you have to evaluate your show's promise. So what's your show supposed to be about? What's the purpose of your show? And as you grow, are you continuing to live to that promise, that motto, that creed, or have you gone off kilter? And that can be a reason why you're seeing fluctuations in your numbers. And the aesthetics, just how it sounds, how your content looks. Is it what your audience wants? And then as we're building this community, we want to build raving fans, right? These are people that go to war for us. These are people that go to battle for us, that share our stuff with their friends in their circles. And it helps the word of mouth and helps it grow like wildfire, because these people are diehard fans. And we do that by just creating an experience for them. We create an experience by being curious, for one, about them, about what makes them tick, about what they're looking for. And that starts with conversations. And when we have these conversations, then we can start to show up unexpectedly. Maybe you reach out to someone in your audience and say, hey, I know you listen, and I really appreciate all the engagement you are having on my posts. It means a lot. Hey, I see you engaging with my posts. What else would you like to see? Do you want to see more of these posts, or would you like to see something different? Show up. Maybe it's like, hey, we're doing a live on Instagram, and I'm talking to someone from the audience to get their perspective, to hear their side of things. Why do they listen? What would they like to see? Would you like to be on that live with me? Get them involved. And then keep them accountable and help them act if you're teaching them something, if you're guiding them through a process. And then create some VIP experience. Again, it could be like a live they do with you. Maybe you invite them on the show and they talk about their experience with you and your programs. Maybe you send them some merchandise because they've engaged so much on your content. Whatever it is, you're making them feel special. You maybe do a member spotlight like we do in our community, where you just push everything about them out there so people can get connected. And then foster networking among the group, because we're all in this together. We're all made to be in community and relationship and work together. So being able to build that is going to create that experience. And then we want to upgrade our superpowers. Again, remember, we started out, we didn't necessarily understand how to use the powers we were given. With great power comes great responsibility. And we're learning to harness those, to upgrade those powers. And to do that, when we upgrade ourselves, we're going to avoid burnout. We're going to improve our wellness and our mindset. Excuse me. And we're going to be able to reflect and review more and be able to plan for more growth. And I'm curious, though, if you guys are still awake and not asleep, I hope I didn't bore anybody. If you could have one superpower, what would it be? I want to see in the chat there. If you could have one superpower, would it be to fly? Would it be super strength? Let me know in the chat, and I'll see them pop up. But when we upgrade our superpowers, a lot of times you hear people talk about hustle. We got to hustle. And that puts, self-care to the wayside. But we need to have those moments incorporated, that harmony, to avoid burnout. And that's taking time for yourself, because if your cup's empty, you can't fill anybody else up. So even as podcasters, right? We going out, we're giving through our episodes, our content. And if we don't take time to fill our own cup up, our content's going to start going down. We're going to start lacking. Okay. And it's going to show in our audience. So take care of yourself, upgrade those superpowers, and make sure you're on top of your game. And then some podcast hero kryptonites you got to watch out for. So like Superman, when he was around kryptonite, he got weak. It was killing him. So you got to watch out for these things. You forget your position. So as you're growing your audience, as you're growing a business, you kind of get put on a pedestal a little bit from your audience. And so when you say or do certain things that don't align with your podcast, your message, your business, they're going to call you out. And it's going to hurt. It's going to sting. But we got to humble ourselves and say, okay, hey, I made a mistake. You're right. Thank you for calling me out. Thanks for that kick in the pants. So we got to remember we're at a different position now when we're having an audience and people listening to us and looking up to us. But we also have to watch out for our ego so it doesn't get in the way. Because when our ego gets in the way, then we forget about the most important thing, and that's our audience. That's the people we're serving. Because we can't serve if we're focused on ourselves. And then poor planning. We just don't think about, hey, what's next? How can we continue to level up? How can we continue to monetize? How can we continue to give more value? You have a dangerous circle. So the people you collaborate with, the people you hang out with, maybe they're the ones you shouldn't be. And when you hang out with these people, when you do business with these people, when you collaborate with these people, and then they do something negative, it comes back to you because you're tied to them, because you've been seen to do business, to work with them, to be around them. And also just in general, the mindset. You are the total of the 5 people you hang out with. So you got to be careful. Who you tune into, you turn into. So you got to protect that circle of yours. And then people pleasing. A lot of times we want to make everything perfect. We want to help and make everyone happy, but we can't. Because when you have that ideal listener, it's going to exclude other people. And that's okay. We don't do it on purpose, but we can provide value specifically for that group. And those other people probably won't like what you're doing because it doesn't fit what they need. But we're here to help those who we can and who need what we have to offer. And of course, burnout. So burnout is just something, being overwhelmed, not dealing with your stress positively, not structuring your days. You're letting it run you instead of you running it. So these are just things we got to watch out for. Now, the path of monetization. I know we spend a lot of time right now just talking about growing our audience, building those raving fans, because monetization doesn't happen if we don't do that. That's the most important part. Growing that, that tribe, those raving fans, that community. Once we do that, then they're going to be like ready when we have something to offer. Okay. So that's why we spent more time on growing that audience, that group. But really remember, KISS, keep it super simple, or my professor used to say, keep it simple, stupid. But, we try to be PC a little bit, I guess. But keep it super simple. You don't have to overcomplicate it to be successful. Okay. And busy doesn't mean productive. Your schedule could be booked and you could be busy all day. But if you're not, gaining new audience members, if you're not growing in revenue, then you're not productive. You're just wasting time. So you got to focus on the right things so you're not just busy. You don't have to figure it all out on your own, especially. There are lots of people, Dave, myself, and there's so many others out there helping people in podcasting. And whatever you do, there's always coaches and mentors. So don't do it alone. And then remember, there's a lot of extra stuff out there. And so cutting that all away, that's what we try to do in our programs, is cut out the fluff, get right to the point, because that's what we need. We need exact structure. We don't need all the, the stuff that doesn't matter. And remember, it doesn't have to be hard, but it'll take some effort. Just don't overcomplicate it and enjoy the journey. That's a big thing. You got to enjoy the journey you're on. And some ways to do this helps with burnout, especially if you're at that point. The DOE method, to delegate, outsource, and eradicate. So when you get to the point where you're able to do this, you can delegate. You can have interns, employees, volunteers, community members, even people in your community where you say, hey, I would love for you to do this part. Maybe you accept people into the group. Would you do that for me? You've been such a big help. Things like that. To outsource, we have the Podcast Here production company. You can look on Fiverr, Upwork, LinkedIn for people to do some of the things that you're not the best at for a fairly low investment. And then when you get to the eradication, that's where you pick the top things that need to be done to move the needle forward, reverse engineer it, break it down into small bite-sized goals, but then everything else that doesn't fit within those projects, don't focus on. Get rid of them so you can actually get the results by being productive. And then monetizing. And we hit on this so much already, and we're going to continue to with Eunice, but there are a lot of ways to monetize, okay? And here, this is just a small list that you can utilize your podcast to start monetizing through. In my opinion, affiliates and then programs and memberships are the best way to grow and monetize. And so take a look at this and just be creative with what you have, what you're putting out there, and what your audience wants to be able to monetize. But affiliates, yeah, just finding courses, products, or services that you believe in, that you've used, that you've experienced, and know that they work. And a lot of them have basically a link that you would share with your audience. And if they go there, or a code, and if they use it, you get a percentage of the sale. And that can be monthly reoccurring as you continue to grow. And the good thing with affiliates is you put them in an episode as an ad, or you mention them and mention the link, and they're evergreen. They stay in that episode. So as you grow, people go back to that episode and they're going to hear about your affiliates. They're going to hear about that product or service, and you're going to continue to see the revenue come from it as you continue to grow. And then programs, teach something. Man, we all have knowledge in something, okay? And if your podcast is in line with that, consult, do a program, coaching, whatever you want to call it, because you can charge more than what you're going to get for sponsors and even affiliates. I think it's the best way to really grow and monetize. But then you have memberships. This is something kind of like the Patreon, the tiered system, where people pay a lower ticket amount for some sort of added value, some sort of experience, to be closer to you, to learn something more, or to see behind the scenes, have Q&As, things like that. So those are the three that I would suggest. And that's all I had. But again, remember, we spent a lot of time on growing our audience and nurturing them, because at the end of the day, without that, there is no monetization. So thank you guys for listening.